Today we are tearing the foil wrapper off the dairy aisle to expose the 8 butter brands that UK consumers must boycott immediately. We are told that butter is simple, natural, and wholesome. But the reality lurking inside these tubs is a toxic cocktail of contaminated batches, misleading labels, and hidden trans fats that are silently accelerating heart complications. Prices are skyrocketing while recipes are being quietly diluted, and the regulatory watchdogs meant to protect you are asleep at the wheel. We have conducted a forensic deep dive into every major brand, analyzing ingredients, transparency, supply chain toxicity, and the psychological manipulation used in their marketing. The results are not just disappointing, they are terrifying. Let's begin the dossier. 1. Kerrygold Pure Irish Butter with a chemical stain. For decades, Kerrygold has been the untouchable monarch of the dairy world. It built an empire on images of emerald green pastures, grass-fed cows, and that signature rich yellow hue that chefs worship. But in 2023, a scandal shattered its pristine image. Independent forensic testing revealed that Kerrygold's iconic gold and silver foil wrappers were laced with PFAS, the notorious forever chemicals scientifically linked to cancer and hormonal devastation. The contamination was so severe that specific US states legally paralyzed sales until the packaging was overhauled. A class action lawsuit alleged the butter was fundamentally adulterated, and regulators agreed it was plausible that consumers had been deceived. Let that sink in. A brand marketed as the pinnacle of Irish purity was literally swaddled in toxins. Kerrygold's parent company scrambled to re-engineer the wrappers, but the contract of trust was broken. Furthermore, while the core block remains dairy, their spreadable line commits the industry's favorite sin. It is diluted with 20% rapeseed oil and injected with artificial coloring to hallucinate that golden glow. Consumers surrender up to £3 for a 250-gram pack, expecting untainted luxury. But between oil fillers, inflated pricing, and chemical-laced packaging, Kerrygold serves as a stark reminder. No brand is too premium to poison its own reputation. It still shifts millions of units, but if your butter comes wrapped in carcinogens, is it really pure? 2. Country Life. The patriotic illusion. You'll never put a better bit of butter on your knife. That jingle is etched into the British collective consciousness. With campaigns featuring John Lydon of the Sex Pistols, Country Life tied the rebellious spirit of punk directly to butter patriotism. But behind the Union Jack and the rolling hills lies a calculated charade. Yes, the block is standard dairy, but the spreadable version is a masterpiece of dilution. 50% butter, 25% oil, and the rest is simply water. Half of the product you are purchasing never saw the inside of a cow. Then there is the safety record. In 2008, Country Life Spreadable was purged from shelves after jagged pieces of plastic were discovered inside the tubs. The contamination stemmed from shattered machinery, tiny blue shrapnel lurking in a product families assumed was safe. Country Life leans heavily on its 100% British milk claim. While technically accurate, the profits do not remain on these shores. Since 2019, the revenue flows to Saputo, a massive Canadian conglomerate. The packaging may tug at your patriotic heartstrings, but the cash flows overseas. Taste tests reveal it performs adequately, yet no better than budget supermarket brands. You are paying a tax on nostalgia and a flag, while the product itself is quietly watered down, and, historically, filled with plastic debris. 3. Waitrose Essential, the betrayal of the middle class. Waitrose trades on a single currency, reputation. If any supermarket own brand was supposed to be bulletproof, it was this one. Essential Waitrose was marketed as the clean, stoic, dependable choice. For years it honored that promise. But in April 2024, the facade collapsed. Waitrose was forced into a humiliating nationwide recall when inspectors unearthed pieces of blue cloth and plastic embedded within their 500-gram blocks of salted butter. The Food Standards Agency issued an urgent "do not eat" warning. The product was declared a choking hazard. Consider the magnitude of this negligence. Butter is one of the simplest culinary creations in existence. Yet fragments of industrial cleaning rags and gloves slipped through the quality control net and landed in refrigerators across Britain. A brand built on premium trust had literally packaged rubbish into its dairy. Waitrose acted swiftly with apologies and refunds, and no injuries were legally recorded, but the psychological damage was permanent. Headlines screamed about foreign objects in a household staple. This recall proved a chilling truth. The price premium does not inoculate you against negligence. When blue cloth winds up in your food, it isn't just contamination. It is a violation of the consumer contract. 4. Anchor from New Zealand's pride to oil in a tub. Anchor erected its empire on the legend of lush New Zealand pastures and unadulterated cream. It felt honest. It felt wholesome. But examine the modern UK iteration and you find a hollow shell of that legacy. Anchor Spreadable is a 50-50 hybrid of butter and oil. Roughly half is real dairy, the rest is rapeseed oil, water and colouring. In a brazen display of greed, they launched Squeezy Butter in 2019, which turned out to be 67% oil, essentially liquid margarine wearing a disguise. Consumers ridiculed it and the product vanished in shame, but the deception lingers. The tub still screams Anchor Butter in bold typography, trading on heritage, while only a forensic reading of the label reveals the dilution. The cynicism continues with shrinkflation. Anchor downsized packs to 200 grams, effectively doubling the price per kilo compared to supermarket own brands. Despite marketing promises of a creamy taste, blind taste tests rank it as mediocre at best, neutral, greasy, and underwhelming. Anchor markets itself as farmer-owned and patriotic, but the substance you are spreading is often less than half cream. Behind the branding lies a product indistinguishable from the cheapest spreads, sold at twice the price. 5. Lurpak, the great butter dilution. For generations, Lurpak was the crown jewel of Danish dairy, foil-wrapped, creamy, the gold standard of dependability. But scrutinize its bestseller, the spreadable tub, and the prestige begins to rot. Once upon a time, Lurpak Spreadable boasted over 85% real butter. Today, that figure has plummeted to a meager 63.7%, with the void filled by rapeseed oil and water. Nearly 40% of what you are buying is not butter at all. The packaging engages in visual trickery. Lurpak dominates the lid, while the phrase blend of butter and rapeseed oil cowers in the fine print. Technically legal, morally bankrupt. And here is the insult. You are paying a luxury ransom for this diluted mixture. In 2022, during the height of the cost of living crisis, a single pack of Lurpak hit £6 in supermarkets, with some stores resorting to security tags to prevent theft. Imagine that. Butter so artificially expensive it had to be locked up like jewelry. Meanwhile, the company quietly shrank its 250-gram blocks to 200 grams, a stealth tax on the consumer. No contamination recalls have hit Lurpak, but the manipulation is financial. You are paying butter prices for oil and water dressed in silver foil. Critics have labelled it the greatest dairy lie of our generation. The luxury image is a mirage. The reality is diluted. 6. I can't believe it's not butter because it isn't. The name is a confession, but the deception runs deeper. I can't believe it's not butter is absolutely not butter. It is a margarine-style slurry constructed from vegetable oils, additives, chemical flavorings, and emulsifiers. No milk fat, no cream, nothing that legally qualifies as butter. So why is it on this list? Because despite being entirely artificial, the brand's marketing has parasitically latched onto butter's image for years. Bright yellow tubs, creamy textures, and advertising that frames it as the virtuous, healthy choice. But healthier for whom? The product is often laden with palm oil, a driver of catastrophic deforestation and habitat destruction. The formula has undergone erratic shifts, sometimes adding dairy, sometimes purging it, leaving consumers in a state of whiplash. For those with dairy allergies, these flip-flops are dangerous. At times it was vegan, then suddenly it wasn't. For the average shopper, tracking the ingredients is a full-time job, yet the name continues to trade on the reputation of the very product it mimics. It is built on a psychological trick, convincing you it is close enough to the real thing, when in truth, it is chemically engineered sludge designed to mimic spreadability. It is not butter. It never was. It never will be. 7. Utterly butterly margarine dressed as dairy. If the previous entry was the original offender, Utterly Butterly is its British accomplice. Also owned by Saputo, the same conglomerate behind Country Life, Utterly Butterly is another oil-heavy spread, masquerading as a fun budget alternative. Here is the trap. The brand leans heavily on the word butter in its name, plasters British farm imagery across its tubs, and utilizes cheerful advertising to suggest wholesome dairy goodness. The truth? It is predominantly vegetable oil. Palm oil, rapeseed oil, water, coloring, and salt constitute the bulk of the recipe. Real butter is statistically insignificant. This is not a dairy product in the traditional sense. It is margarine wearing a marketing mask. Even worse, Saputo has been criticized for quietly tweaking fat levels and formulations to shave costs while still framing Utterly Butterly as a lighter choice. But lighter does not mean better. It means you are spreading processed industrial oils on your toast while believing you are consuming dairy. The price sits just below supermarket own labels, creating the illusion of value. But you are not paying for quality, you are funding a branding exercise. It is a masterclass in manipulation, using humor and wordplay to distract you from the nutritional void inside the tub. 8. Flora, the shapeshifter. Finally, we arrive at Flora. Once heralded as the heart-healthy savior, Flora has been reformulated more times than most consumers can count. It has been a chameleon, vegan, then not vegan, then vegan again. It has been promoted as palm oil-free, only to quietly reintroduce palm oil when the wind changed. Each shift leaves a trail of angry, confused customers. While the branding speaks of naturalness and plant power, the ingredient list tells a story of industrial processing. Palm oil, emulsifiers, stabilizers, and flavorings engineered to simulate the richness of dairy. Flora's identity crisis erodes consumer trust. 1 month, it is a green tub targeting vegans. The next, it sneaks dairy derivatives back into the mix. This is not only misleading, it is physically risky for allergy sufferers. Environmental groups have slammed the brand for its palm oil sourcing, citing rainforest destruction that contradicts their sustainability slogans. Flora is not just inconsistent, it is unstable. And when a brand cannot even decide what it is, why should you trust it to sit on your family's table? We hope this investigation opened your eyes. If you want to protect your health and your wallet, scrutinize the label, ignore the marketing, and question everything. Subscribe for more exposés like this.